What about you? Very welcome. Well, the world's media pivoted further east during the week as Israel launched this attack on Iran. Unlike some, I do not believe this was a diversionary strategy by the IDF to take attention away from its genocidal attack in Gaza. The reality is the Israeli government and the military, they don't seem to need to do that, as they've never given a shit what anyone thought about their actions. Apart, of course, from their financial and military piggy bank, the USA. I highlighted a few weeks ago the slaughter of starving Palestinians trying to find food at one of the now US and Israeli-approved Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or GHF, stations. There's a misnomer, if ever there was one. That slaughter has continued daily, with starving men, women and children shot down by the IDF, leaving a total of over 500 dead, as at the time of this video. The reason for the attack on Iran was an example of military opportunism, nothing more complicated than that. Having practically wiped out Iranian proxies such as Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Syrian regime in the shape of Assad, Netanyahu saw an opportunity to attack Iran. He was hoping to bring about such instability among the Iranian population that they would rise up and oust their present government. That doesn't show any possibility. And so, quietly aided by both the US and UK governments, the IDF launched a wave of missiles into Iran. The excuse or premise for their attack, of course, was that Iran was on the cusp of having a nuclear bomb. This is a claim Netanyahu has been peddling, would you believe, for over 20 years. And here's the proof.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb.
Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade.
Ladies and gentlemen, time is running out.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
Now, while there's no doubt Iran has ambitions to have a nuclear bomb, most informed observers say there's still some way off achieving that ambition. What we do know, however, is that Israel, in contravention of all nuclear non-proliferation laws, haven't only developed a bomb, but have multiple nuclear bombs armed and ready to launch. We only know this due to the bravery of the Israeli nuclear technician Mordechai Vanu, who, imprisoned in Israel for revealing details about the country's nuclear weapons program, suffered 18 years incarceration. He was arrested and tried for treason. They finally released him in 2004, but he continues to face restrictions on his freedom of movement and communication since that date. So much for the supposed only democracy in the Middle East. When a journalist had the courage to point out the blatant hypocrisy of the Israeli position to an Israeli politician, this was their response.
Why should the world tolerate you having nuclear weapons and not, say, Iran?
First, again, we never admitted to have such weapons, but the very comparison is, I must say, it's very insulting, and I tell you why. We suffered one Holocaust. We listened to our neighbors.
Is it because of the Holocaust that you should be allowed to have nuclear weapons?
You know what? This interview was finished now. Your attitude is so hostile, and your questions are so arrogant, I don't want to speak with you anymore.
Must be nice to have such a thin skin that you can choose to walk off when asked a hard question. It appears that some Americans are beginning to wake up to the truth about the Israeli claim of victimhood.
And now that Tehran sent a message back They're screaming for help like a child who lit the fire and got burned by the flame. Oh, now it's a tragedy. Now you remember what a hospital is. You bombed over 200 hospitals in Gaza. You hit a children's hospital in Iran. You blew up ambulances, dialysis centers, maternity wards. And now you want sympathy? Let me say this loud so the world hears. You didn't just bomb buildings. You didn't just kill civilians. You targeted the ones who were trying to save them. You murdered medics, unarmed, brave, rushing to save a life. And you killed them in cold blood. Then you buried them in their vehicles, like criminals hiding a murder weapon. You didn't just kill people, you erased the proof. You buried mercy under the rubble, and now you ask for compassion. Here's the part that burns deeper. The world has been watching a live stream genocide for 2 years, on every screen, in every language, from every angle. And now, after 2 years of watching you bomb children with American missiles, you expect the people to feel something for you. You got some nerve. You want tears. Tell that to the mothers digging their babies out with bare hands. Tell that to cancer patients gasping for oxygen as the hospital walls collapsed around them. You want sympathy. You had 2 years of global silence, and that still wasn't enough for your bloodlust. You've been had. You've been took. You've been hoodwinked. The world was hoodwinked into believing you were victims while you turned cities into cemeteries. You don't get to cry now. Not after you made mourning a crime in Gaza. You don't get to scream now. Not after you silenced every voice that dared to say enough. You bombed hope. You buried mercy. You murdered truth. And now you want the people's pity. We don't mourn for war criminals. We don't cry for colonizers. We cry for the silence, for the crushed, for the medics you left in the dirt. But something's changed. The world sees you now. The veil is off. The lie is dead.
They're also beginning to question the amount of aid siphoned off the US public purse and the Israeli coffers. For example, every day $10 million goes from Americans' pockets into Israel.
You'll do nothing. You hear me? You'll do nothing.